will not get anywhere else where we do not teach you how to rise to the occasion. We teach you how to fall to your level of preparation. In other words, saying stay ready so you don't got to get ready. Period, point blank. Always in your level of preparation, no matter what the circumstances, no matter what is happening. All right. So, according to this, I believe September 3rd, 2025, day away now from the opening of NFL football season. And we have some NFL news today, or former NFL news, former players. One of my favorite, not the favorite, in my opinion, the greatest person to lace them up, has made his rounds around social media over the past couple days. And that would be none other than the great Hall of Famer, Ray Lewis, two-time Super Bowl champion, two-time defensive MVP. It's the Ray Lewis, again, greatest player that ever played the game of football, is in the news for something that has nothing to do with football. And it's been critical of him. There's been some words exchanged between him and Shannon Sharpe, not directly, but indirectly. He went on Pat B. David's show and started talking about how shocked he was that Shannon Sharpe has taken the route of alcohol and I guess you would call it misogyny, womenizing, things like that in order to have success in his on his podcast and his after football playing career, his broadcasting career, so to speak. All right. So again, now for the preference at all, but I explain it to you again, I am a Ray Lewis fanatic. Between him and Jay-Z, it's gonna be hard for me to say anything necessarily negative about those two. However, I am a fan that knows how to use his discernment and say, look, but when you're wrong, you're wrong. If he went out there and missed a tackle, hey, I'll be the first one to say he missed that tackle. You got to play better, right? So I'll say I don't think he's necessarily wrong, but I can understand why Ray Lewis is getting the backlash that he's getting, because Shannon Sharpe at one point was a very close friend. And I think a lot of people who keep up with the sports world saw some differences between the two when the whole Colin Kaepernick shit went down and they was going at each other live on camera, and there was just some words exchanged in terms of how they took the Colin Kaepernick situation. But the truth is, I think in Ray Lewis's defense now, the word shocked, he was asked the question, and it's clear that both Shannon Sharpe and Ray Lewis have parted ways. They've grown apart. They're not as close as they once were, which happens. That's life. You know, everybody has their season in life, and it just happens. But the word shocked is a very valid term when you're talking about Shannon Sharpe. It's a very valid term. Listen, I don't know these guys personally. I can just tell you what I've seen as a consumer of sports, a consumer of football for virtually my entire life. And for Shannon Sharpe, I can tell you, I'm as shocked as anybody, or anybody that has consumed it, whether you just found out who he was today or if you've been knowing who he was since he was back playing with the Denver Broncos. The word shocked is a very valid word when it comes to everything that Shannon Sharpe has done and what he said. I mean, he got on. Listen, if you can recall, Shannon Sharpe, his famous, probably one of the most famous interviews, famous video clips that has gone absolutely bonkers, right, gone nuclear over the past couple of years, is when he called out Richie Incognito for using the N-word. Right? He was going at it on, it was back when it was CBS, Jim Brown's staff, I think it was CBS Sports, where he was going off on that. And then he goes and gets this position with Skip, and he's all talking about how, you know, we as black men, it's so hard for us to live in the world. And he's so pro-black and pro-young black men doing the right thing. And for him to get caught up in some mess with this 19-year-old girl, he's paying her $30 or $40 million, I think it was some ridiculous number like that. The word shocked is a very valid term. And that's just me speaking on it from the public perception standpoint, much less as somebody like a Ray Lewis, who was at one point his best friend. At one point, you know, they were really, really tight during those years with the Ravens. I think it even got said at one point that, you know, Shannon Sharpe was the first one to reach out to Ray when he was going through his situation with the case and said, hey, Ray, stay at my place and we're going to be teammates. I mean, they were like brothers. So again, I understand the perspective of, look, you don't throw your friends under the bus when you could call them up and say this and say that to them. However, at the same time, the word that Ray Lewis used was shocked. And like everyone, I think he's just speaking from the heart and saying, hey, I'm shocked. I'm actually shocked. And whether you want to take it as a sign of disrespect or a slight of shade or whatever you want to take it as, the word is very valid. And again, at many points, some people have a point when they say, look, you don't throw your friends under the bus because it's private matters and all that. And we all see that argument. So it's just a matter of, hey, if you're really shocked about something, if you really feel that strongly as Ray Lewis obviously feels about what his friend has turned into for the media, you can't necessarily blame him or get mad at him or feel some kind of way about what he said, because he's just speaking the truth. And to be honest with you, again, the public perception of Shannon Sharpe is for somebody, he is somebody who's supposed to be a role model, somebody who's supposed to not get himself caught up with some OnlyFans model, all this stupid bullshit. You're supposed to be some sort of a mentor. You're supposed to be somebody that people look up to. And that is ultimately what Ray Lewis, whether he was right or wrong from saying it, that needed to be said in the public setting by somebody of Ray Lewis's stature. And that I'll agree with, all right? So again, main takeaway from this whole ordeal when it comes to you as a business owner, you have to be willing to part ways with people. You have to be willing to grow in seasons and understand that some people are around for their season. Once their season is done, you got to learn to move the fuck on and say what needs to be said. If it gets said, however it gets taken, it's just a part of life, guys. So all that being said, if you want employee development, if you want your staff to have that same mentality, main website to check out is makeyamove.com. That's MAKEYAMOVE.com. One-stop shop for your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one Crookshank, your one and only
Move Swiftly speaker. Checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon. All right. Good morning. Good afternoon. Whatever time of day you may or may not be consuming this. Great to have you. Wonderful to have you. First of all, let me just introduce myself to anybody that may be new to this channel, new to my world, new to what I'm all about. My name, as one Crookshank. I'm your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time, very, very soon to be 6-time published author and educator. I created this whole brand, this whole business, this whole concept, this whole mindset, this whole understanding that's all about taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and applying them to businesses and business owners so they have a staff and or a group of employees that moves as efficiently as a championship high school or youth football team. Reporting today from a local Starbucks today. Again, we're working on some things right now. Bear with me when it comes to the location in the mornings when I regularly do these live streams. My previous location was compromised. Not ready to get into that yet, but just bear with me when it comes to the sound and stuff like that. We're gonna get things right in the morning, and I'm recording them earlier now because of that reason. Because as soon as I finish my run over to a Starbucks, head over to the school. That's kind of how it works in my world. I like to get so much done before we even get to 9 o'clock because it's the way I was raised. It's the way my mother raised me. I mean, some of one of my fondest memories with my mother will be when we would wake up, go work out, I get my hair cut, she'd get her nails done, or go, do some shopping or whatever, the hair salon, and then we go to the grocery store, get some food. She'd get the food tutorial out and start lunch or dinner, start cooking food for the rest of the day. All of that stuff is done by like 10 a.m. All the errands are done by the time some people are just waking up. So I've always just developed that habit of constantly getting as much done in the morning. If you're a regular consumer to my work, you're going to hear me say this very often. Win your morning. If you win your morning, you just stand a better chance to having a better day. All right. So I am here. We're here on another Wednesday. This is the first Wednesday of September. It is Trapreneur Wednesday. Trapreneur Wednesday. We're going to get into the definition of that in just a second. Let me just get through a couple of announcements, and then we will go from there. First things first, business owners. Here to serve you. I am here to serve you. The whole Move Swiftly frame, the whole brand, the whole setup, the whole platform is here to serve you and make it so you have that staff and that group of employees that is moving as efficiently. Again, that championship mentality, championship high school or youth football team. That's what we want your staff moving like. All right. So very first step you need to take is to go to makeyamove.com. That's MAKEYAMOVE.com. We work from a very simple formula here. That's number one, establishing measurables. Number two, creating that professional distance. You take those two, you align them, you mix them up in the right way, and only that is going to lead to a productive environment. Hear me. Establishing measurables, a professional distance, allowing that to lead to a productive environment. You need those two things to be working interchangeably, all right? Can't have one without the other. You can't even establish measurables if you don't have a professional distance with people. You can't have a professional distance with people if you don't establish measurables. You need a both, all right? So it's free guide.makeitmove.com. Just simply click that link that you see right there, and you will get a 10-step process, 10-step. It'll be a 10-step bullet point process in terms of how you can utilize it right now to make it so your staff moves as efficiently as that championship team. It's just going to get the ball rolling for you. It won't solve all your problems. To solve all of your problems, you got to pay something. You got to put some money up. All right. So if you are like my favorite people to work with, you're like, bump all that free stuff as one. Teach me how to implement. Tell me how I can make it so my staff thinks like you, has this entrepreneur mindset, has this mindset where they take the initiative, where they go up, they get as much done on their own, and then they're just so much easier to work with because they already walk into the business, walk into work with the mindset of they're going to get it done. Just simply go to makeyourmove.com. Just hit the shop now tab. You can buy a copy of my book. You can look and book a meeting with me to schedule when you would like for me to do a workshop with you. All that stuff is available at makeyourmove.com/shop. And just go to, if you want to get more details and more information on what I'm all about, it's right there under the Innovative Teamwork tab or the Move Swiftly Speaker tab. Turn your business into a championship team. It is common knowledge that the best way to win in business or in life is by avoiding ways to lose. Whether you just started a new business or you've been in business for quite some time, there's no getting around the need to hire or outsource certain elements of your organization so things can run as efficiently as possible. When you book your meeting with Osborne, he'll diagnose what the issues are with your current system and then strategically create a system in which will lead to a reduced amount of turnover or a clear understanding of the parts of your business that need to be outsourced. All right, here we go. All right, so Trapreneur Wednesday, the feature. I haven't done a feature in a while. A lot of the times when it comes to Trapreneur Wednesday, I'm kind of, because I look at myself, I'm the ultimate wintrapreneur. I'm the person that invented the term, and I'm the person that is the ultimate wintrapreneur. However, there are times here and there, especially as we're approaching football season now, because the football season is the perfect example of what a win. You hear me correctly, by the way, folks. What a wintrapreneur is all about. The football season creates unbelievable examples. In fact, just this past weekend for Labor Day weekend, I was in Key Largo visiting Jimmy Johnson's. He has a restaurant called Jimmy's Big Chill, and we were watching it. It was me and my girl, and we were watching it with a bunch of we were watching the Miami Hurricane Notre Dame game, the whole Catholics versus convicts game and all that. We're watching that in Jimmy Johnson's establishment, and he's pumping up the thing for the crowd. It was an unbelievable atmosphere, unbelievable time. I haven't even posted about it because I'm going to talk more about that next week when I discuss how to invest in you. And then there's a big breakfast I have going on tomorrow, so I'll probably be doing this a little later. So there's a couple things that I need to get squared away before I dive into next week, and what we're going to discuss. But just know there's a lot of great things coming down the pipeline. The college football show that I did do the college football show this past weekend. But again, like I think I might have mentioned this to you guys. I'm not sure. I'll just mention it now. I'm going to be doing it a little bit differently. It was a little distracting when I was doing it at Duffy, so I'm going to more so find a private place to just watch the games, and I'll be able to get more games in. Like this weekend, I'll be doing both Maryland versus Northern Illinois and the Penn State versus FIU. Obviously, my Michigan Wolverines, the college game, we have a big one against Oklahoma, and I usually go to Hallandale. I'm probably going to Hallandale again because I won a raffle. I was there last week and I won a raffle. I still need to get my merch. So I definitely got to go to. I got to go back to Holland. It's a yard house in Hallandale. I got to go back there and watch the Michigan Oklahoma game. So that's the college football front. Let me get back. Because again, I can get distracted. And the reason I watch this and the reason I make sure these articles are up when I'm talking is because I can absolutely get distracted, especially during this season where something might get said and next thing you know, I'm rambling on something else. But the focus is on this Jubilee Media company, all right? And this is one of the things that I was discussing on Monday when I came up with the topic. All week we've been discussing algorithms and what goes into an algorithm and what these social media apps, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram or TikTok, whatever it is, these apps are incredibly smart. They have incredibly smart people working for them, and they know what channels to recommend. They know what videos to recommend. So what happened was one of the videos, actually, I'll tell you right there, Lila Rose. Yep, Lila Rose. One of the videos really caught my attention, and it was this video where Lila Rose, who I heard of just last year when she was doing a bunch of podcasts, doing a lot of great work for pro-life. And I'm incredibly pro-life. I'm somebody that aspires to be a father one day. And I do not believe that abortion is a good thing. And, that's one of the things that made me, learn about who Lila Rose was, especially last year when abortion was such a big issue. I was listening to a lot of her work. I respected her work. I respected her organization. I respected what she was all about. So it was her sitting around 25 people who were pro-choice, and she was holding her own. If you've ever seen Lila Rose on, in fact, let me just look her up real quick so you guys have some context. But she's very non-confrontational woman. Like you would never know. Yeah, American activist. Yeah, if you look at her, she's very non-confrontational. Like not a person that you would think would, if you hear her speak, you're not a person who you would think would get into arguments or get into debates or anything like that. But I mean, I was watching her during this debate show with on Jubilee Media, and I was like, okay, I was impressed. I was very impressed. So it got me thinking about what even made me watch the video in the first place. How did I even know about this? And it's because I engage in these things. And when it comes to debating, what I was explaining to you guys Monday is I've had to fight for who I am my entire life. I had to defend my name. I have to correct people on doing this and correct people doing that. There's so many things that resonated with me when you see somebody who takes a stand and has to deal with so many people coming at them in certain ways. So I respected her grit. I respected the research that she clearly did on the topic, and no one was fucking with her. No one was fucking with her. Everybody came with some strong arguments. A lot of pro-choices came with some really, really strong arguments, and she held her own. So it kind of pulled me in. I saw some of Pat B. Davids, Charlie Kirk was on there. They have some great stuff, and I strongly recommend you guys go check out that channel when you have some time. So it got me thinking. I'm like, algorithms are very important. Your algorithms and what YouTube recommends to you, what these social media apps represent to you, what they recommend to you, can be something that actually grows you and puts you in a place that makes you better. So, I had to become very transparent. There's some things that I'm going to share in this article that I've yet to really share in a public setting that was really, really challenging for me personally to actually share. But I learned and I recognized, hey, if I want to get to that level, if I want to be on that Mount Rushmore, I want to be known as Mr. Innovative Teamwork guy, that guy that you look up innovative teamwork, you got to look up Aswan's name no more. You just look up innovative teamwork, Aswan's your guy. Innovative teamwork and employee development. Yeah, I need to dominate that space, and I need to be prolific in that space. So that's what made me. That's what drew me into the entire theme this week. So all that being said, let's get into the article, guys. First things first, and this was it. As you can see, Trapreneur Wednesday. The feature is Jubilee Media. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing it the correct way. But this was a screenshot that I took while I was watching it and listening to it on my phone. Can one pro-lifer survive 25 pro-abortion activists? Featuring Lila Rose, Surrounded. So that's what I was watching. As you can see, 3.7 million views. It was a great conversation. And I strongly recommend you guys watch it for yourself. So here we go. The hardest piece I've had to write. I'm going to be truthful with you, and this is coming from the heart, folks. This has been one of the toughest Trapreneur Wednesday features for me to write. Over the past month, my father has been in and out of the hospital. Not ready, nor do I have permission to share the details yet, but his presence in my life is deeply tied into today's story. A few weeks ago, he called me while I was driving to a Friday night high school football game. Different states, different surroundings, yet it felt like he was right there in the car with me. Why? Because when I played, he was always there, every game, every snap, every moment. So the fathers reading this, make sure your presence is known. Show up. Your kids will carry that with them long after the game ends. That's real. Right there, that is real. I mean, it was 2 or 3 weeks ago now. I was coming from West Palm Beach, and I was driving all the way to St. Thomas Aquinas to watch the American Heritage game taking on St. Joseph's. And St. Joseph's, actually, they're playing my alma mater, Good Counsel. I don't know if it's this weekend. I think it's next week. I can't remember. I have to look at the schedule. But knowing why I was going, that was one of the main reasons I was going to make that drive, because I wanted to see Heritage, obviously, but I also wanted to see St. Joe's because, you know, they're gonna be playing Good Counsel. So the fact that he called me from the hospital during that time, it was surreal. It was surreal because I learned that when you have a presence, whether the presence is virtual or whether the presence is actually here, you can have a thing. You can have something that's going to make it so certain people live in your heart forever. As you heard in today's Move Swiftly Thought, people change, seasons grow, you know, people grow apart, life happens, life does life. But there's a rock that's built on, there's a connection, there's a line that is always going to be there if you work towards it. But you have to work towards it. You cannot make it so you take those things for granted. All right, your presence and your time and the things you do with your young people, that kind of stuff carries a lot of weight. So take it seriously. All right, so that being said, the debate team I ignore. When I was younger, my dad encouraged me to join the debate team. My response, I looked at him like he had 3 ears. Debate team? Why? I'm a football player. He calmly explained how sharpening my debating skills would make me a better communicator, improve my public speaking, and ironically help me win the sports arguments I was always getting into. I shrugged it off. I didn't listen, and looking back, I should. I can't go back, but I can learn from my mistakes. That's where Jubilee Media comes in. All right, so this is how this kind of gets into the point of bringing up Jubilee Media is when I look at myself, I look at my business, look at how long I've been, in the content creation game, and look at where I started from literally just doing book reviews and just like in the back of the gym doing book reviews and maybe once a week. I wrote the first book 5 years ago, and I've been doing a podcast. A new episode might have came out once or twice a week, and then there was guests. People want to come on, so it was only twice a week where I do a solo episode, and then I do a guest episode, and then I started getting more guests and more guests. I got a better position at a school where I can actually afford to pay for coaching. And then that coach was advising me, look, if you're going to be doing it, you got to do it for real. You got to be on that joint every day. You can't be half-assed it. You got to do it like, you got to do it like you're going to do it for real. So I started jumping on live streams. And if you go back to my first ever one, it was Coffee and Conversation. I was on my way back from the gym after working out and just talking, just trying to do something. And over time, everything just sharpened. Everything started to get sharp and crisp. As one person, the one and only Move Swiftly Speak, the former Division I college, all of that stuff started to get sharp and crisp as I grew and as I started making my mistakes. Now, what would have happened had I joined the debate team that my father recommended is all of that development that you guys have seen over the past couple of years on YouTube, and you can just look through the channel whenever you get a chance. All of that would have been happening or would have developed during the debate team years, or during those years in high school if I had joined the debate team. And that's what would have happened. Now, again, can't go back and change the past, and I'm not advocating for that. I'm not saying that that's what I wish would have happened. One and two. I'm just explaining to you, these are the things that when you drop certain gems and when you're there for your young people, they're going to remember. Remember, the Bible says, do not, when you train up a child in the way he should go, so when they grow old, they will not depart from the way. Train up a child to the point where that foundation is built. So when they go out in life and they start blossoming, they start taking on the world, they start doing things that they're very passionate about it, they start developing their own dreams. You gotta have that. You gotta have that mentality. You gotta have that foundation so they know what to do. It's like I was just having this conversation with my girl this past weekend where, again, we're having dreams I had dreams for her, she has dreams for me. And what I was explaining to her was like, look, I'm not necessarily the kind of guy that wants to be dreaming about things that aren't reality. dreams rooted in reality, that's when you're talking about something, because they're actually things that are tangible. Take steps and you start making sacrifices. You start doing things. It's not me just talking to you about, oh, I want to be a public speaker. No, you actually see me on YouTube doing public speaking and certain things. Now you're able to give your input on and say, hey, I like this, I don't like this, you got to be better at this, because it's actually there and you're taking the steps to get there. That's when someone's actually adding to your life. That's when somebody's actually making things happen. And all of that comes from the foundation that you have built on. All of that comes from what it is got learned, got taught in the home. Understand it has to be taught in the home for me to even appreciate a Jubilee Media, for me to even appreciate people like a Charlie Kirk or Lila Ross, right? For me to appreciate these people, I have to have known what was happening, known the positivity, and known what to listen for if people really know their shit. All right. So that's what needs to happen. All right. So how Jubilee Media found me. Again, if you're anybody from Jubilee Media that may or may not be listening right now, my sincere apologies if I'm mispronouncing the name, not saying it correctly. But yeah, you guys get the credit or give you the feature of this. All right. So a few weeks ago, one of Jubilee's debate videos popped up in my YouTube algorithm, and I was hooked immediately. Started digging into the company, discovered their story. According to the founder, Jason Y. Lee, Jubilee began back in 2010 with a single video. Jason busking in a New York subway station to raise money for charity. Fast forward 13 years, and Jubilee has built a global community of 8 million plus subscribers, creating weekly videos that tackle tough conversations with empathy, curiosity, and vulnerability. Jason's, I'll comment on that. Jason's mission says it best. People want to connect on a deeper level. You challenge, empathize with one another and share vulnerability. And they want to do it in an engaging way. It's about human good. It's about creating meaningful dialogue in a world that often feels divided and chaotic. Okay, finally, on that point, and I'm running short on time, so I want to make sure I make that point now. It was my first book, Swiftly, Your Guide to Innovative Teamwork, where I explained this to you all, and I want to explain it again. Every time the subject comes up, I will explain it to you in a very, very direct way. You have to go in the opposite direction. But whatever the world and the majority of the people is doing, whatever you see as the norm, at some point you got to fight against the norm, fight against comfort in order to find your lane. You got to go move in an opposite direction. The fortune is in the opposites. All right. So what I explained in my first book, Swiftly, is the world is starving. People are absolutely starving, especially like around that time COVID was happening. So the world is starving for person-to-person contact. The world is starving for face-to-face communication, face-to-face dialogue. The world is starving for that stuff because the technology game is taking over, right? So when he explains, when you're talking about Jason Lee, and I believe this is the person right here, he is explaining that the people wanted to connect on a deeper level, because even though we have live streams, we have all sorts of things that are going to make it so you can communicate with somebody virtually, it really you become more divided because you don't get to shake the person's hand, you don't get to talk to the person, you don't get to just kind of shoot the shit with them and high five, slap high five, and agree and just have fun in a face-to-face dialogue type of a setting, and that ultimately leads to the vision. That's what I mean. That's what he's saying. So it's about human good. It's about creating meaningful dialogue in a world that often feels divided and chaotic. Why this hits home right now? As a new subscriber, I'm reading directly from the article for any podcast systems right now. As a new subscriber, Jubilee's videos have done more than just entertain me. They've helped me navigate my own life, balancing my promotion at work, my role as a father figure to my students and my girlfriend's kids, and growing my relationship. It's a lot. Okay, that's just my life in general. I just gave you that one sentence, 2 sentences, pretty much gave you my life in a nutshell over the past couple of months. All right, balancing my promotion at work, my role as a father figure to my students and my girlfriend's kids, and growing my relationship. It becomes a lot. And there are some mornings I'll be very transparent with you when I tell you this. There's some mornings where it just becomes absolutely too much. and I'm just being all the way real with you. I'm so much to the point where you see a platform like Jubilee Media, you see surrounded, you see people, everyone's going through things, everyone's going through difficult times, and I need to be working on not acting like I'm the only one living through these situations and not feel overwhelmed. That's the key, all right? So, but watching these, again, going back to the article before, but watching these debates, hearing different perspectives and seeing people engage respectfully helped me breathe, think, and grow. And honestly, it reminded me that my father's advice was following me along. He was preparing me for this lifestyle I lead today and the challenges I'm willing to take on. Final word. This isn't just a feature about Jubilee Media. It's about what they represent. It's about listening. It's about empathy. It's about being open to perspectives that you don't fully understand. For me, it's also a reminder that our algorithms shape our lives. I didn't realize it at the time, but my dad's patient debate to hear, challenge, and articulate is exactly what platforms like Jubilee thrive on. If you haven't checked that out, check them out. I highly recommend starting with their debate series. It just may shift the way you think, listen, and lead. And all that being said, I just realized that I have yet to actually define the term wintrapreneur. So wintrapreneur, I will give you the quick definition. I'll help you guys out. Wintrapreneur is a person that has an entrepreneurial mindset, yet has been fortunate enough to find a job that pays every 2 weeks that's complementary to that entrepreneurial vision. All right. Now, again, you've heard the term, you may or may not have heard the term intrapreneur. Well, again, over here in the Move Swiftly world, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker decides to put his own creative spin to things. So I just added a W at the beginning to name it Win Trapreneur, and that is going to be the working title for book number 6. That's why I call myself a 5-time, soon to be 6-time published author. Strongly recommend, or what you can do in order to get your copy is subscribe to my Medium account, where I'm going to basically be taking all of the articles that are at the moment. I will show you right now. There are 373 stories, on medium.com from medium.com/EdMoveSwiftly. So obviously it's time to turn all of these stories into an actual book format that people can read, highlight, underline, take from what you want. So I'm just working on getting through the step-by-step process of how to be a entrepreneur, and then the majority of these articles are going to end up in like the book format to continue to build off this Move Swiftly sports marketing platform, which is what we do around here every single day. So stay tuned for that. There'll be more announcements coming in about that as we are getting football season further along, as we get into the full swing of things, and we got holiday season, all that stuff, all that stuff coming up. And again, like I said, we're going to be switching up. Faith-Based Friday to First Whistle Friday. We're going to be talking college football, and then Sunday we're not going to be doing Stay Hired Sunday. It's going to be dedicated to the Final Whistle Sunday, where we'll be talking more football. Because again, the goal is to become a play-by-play announcer and utilize a lot of the work I'm doing to continue to be complimentary towards that. So all that being said, it's the long-term play, and all of it will be explained at some point. Just make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share this channel out to any business owners that once a staff is tired of dealing with turnover, you're tired of spending all of this money because you don't have a system that's bringing in the right people. You don't have a system that's actually developing employees and developing a staff that wants to be around. Main website to check out to dive deeper into all of that work and to make sure you're doing it the right way. It is makeyourmove.com. That's MAKEYAMOVE.com. Your one-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. At Juan Cruikshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.